unless you want to mention a brand, what's your thoughts on like certain supplement brands and like supplement like protein powders? Are some of them are um like just all facade, or is there some good stuff out there? I know you're a big feed website person, right?
Yeah, I don't really. I have some affiliation with some companies, but I don't. You know, I don't get paid enough to lie. So
Like, hey, all the names is a pass. All right, John. Thanks for coming on today. So my guest today is John Wessling, co-owner of Troll Training. So I appreciate you getting back to me and like coming on, man. I truly appreciate it. And so yeah, co-owner of Troll Training. You're also a three-time XC mountain bike Cat 1 national champ. How did you get to, if you don't mind giving a little background of how you got to be the co-owner of Troll Training?
yeah, thanks for having me on. I know it's been back and forth for a while, so I'm happy this worked out. So I started working with Alex. Oh man, I don't even know what year. It had to have been 2018. It was the end of his Troy Lee design contract, and started working with Alex. I've known Alex for a very long time. I grew up actually racing at Millville. Grew up about like an hour and a half from Millville, and so I knew the Martin brothers fairly well. And then, yeah, started training Alex 2018, and then I think it was 2019. I was like, hey man, I know you're not going to race much longer. We should start a training company, like make it easy on both of us. And he was just so passionate about it. Like I was training him, but really he was probably the only athlete I've ever worked with where it was more, it was almost like a little trial and error with him with some stuff because it was unlimited motivation. He had to train. So really we just kind of messed around with some stuff. I think I did a couple things, that I probably wouldn't do again, but he was open to anything. So we kind of just worked out all the bugs, figured out what worked best for him. And I think by probably 2020, we had his program super dialed. I think that was his first or second year of the JGR days. But anyways, I convinced him to start Troll Training with me so he could have something after his career. And it ended up, he's got a huge passion for it. And once he retired, man, he's been, wide open with it. We've grown exponentially. And yes, I'm super lucky to have a business partner like him because we're both, so passionate and kind of on the same page with fitness stuff.
How did you go from, when did you kind of like, I guess, I don't want to say hang up mountain biking, but how far after, or did Troll Training come after your racing days?
It actually helped me race at an even higher level because we had so many online clients that I was able to work wherever I was. So I was really fortunate, and I started, I'd say I started taking mountain bike racing pretty serious in 2018, and then 2019 won 2 Cat 1 national championships, and then I went pro in 2022, and then 2023 I raced at the professional level. But yeah, Troll Training really just, the flexibility allowed me to, I was basically training, as a full-time pro, so to speak. I could train up to 20 hours a week, every week, and still recover. And, I'd be sitting in my Normatec, massage legs, and working on the computer. And I was really lucky to have that, and I'm happy I did it. But, I made the last 2 World Cups last year. One was in the US and then one was Mount St. Anne in Canada. And, after that, I decided, I didn't really want to chase it anymore. And, now I'm back going to all the races with Jason Anderson and really enjoying being back in the moto scene. I didn't realize how much I missed it.
Yeah, I probably have passed by you every year that the World Cup was at Snowshoe because I've been every year.
Yeah. Well, you didn't miss much from me, but the racing itself was pretty good. up front. Those courses are gnarly, dude. It's
Yeah.
so gnarly.
Were you, well, obviously you were racing in 2019, how wild it got with the downhill scene?
Oh yeah.
Dude,
Yeah.
nuts.
Yeah. I mean, I just feel like all of two-wheeled sports, I don't know. Like maybe it's just my age, I'm not sure, but I feel like since 2017, like everything's just got so gnarly. Like even cross-country mountain biking, you're just wearing spandex and a helmet. And dude, some of these downhills we're hitting, I mean, it's like the max your bike can, 100 or 120 millimeter fork and shock. It's the most you can ride. Like there's no way you can, ride much gnarlier stuff, especially in snowshoe with all the roots. And, now you're running inserts and big tires and, you're more so making your bike durable enough to make the downhills and not, full weight weenie for the uphill.
Yeah, I still have it in my garage, a 2013 Cannondale Lefty, and I got it down to 21 pounds. Well, now you probably even get lower. I don't do XC anymore, but I took it out like about a year ago. I'm like, I'm gonna die on this thing. Like it was just so gnarly. I was just, first the geometry's all changed on bikes dramatically and everything. I was just like, get me off this. Get me back on a full suspension bike.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, even the bike, when I first moved to California in 2015, I was racing a hardtail. I pretty much only raced a hardtail till like 2019. But yeah, every time right now I'm just training on a hardtail, but it's on fire road, so it's not that bad. But anytime I'm on a hardtail, I'm like, dude, this sucks. Like I can't believe I used to do like gnarly XC races on one and really not think much of it. Yeah,
I remember when I first went full suspension, I still had the mindset of trying to find your lines, and people were like, "No, man, you just go over that. Like, that's all gone now."
Yeah, it is. It really is. I mean, I do think for the Lifetime Grand Prix series, some of the gnarlier guys, like more durable, they can do Leadville, Sea Otter. There's a couple races where hardtails are actually, I think, still pretty good. If I was more durable, I'd love to race a hardtail at Leadville.
Yeah.
But yeah, after like the 3-hour mark on a hardtail, my body's kind of useless. So I prefer full suspension everywhere.
I lived in Bentonville for almost 2 years for work, and a couple people had dual crown hardtails, and they said there was the bee's knees, except sometimes climbing was not that great.
Yeah, I couldn't do that.
So how did, like, with the training stuff and knowing, what was your all's background to finally, start develop to what's good and what's bad? How did you guys figure that out?
So if we go way back, I started when I was 14. I started running cross country for high school, and then I started cross country skiing. And really, the only reason I was a hockey player growing up, and I started cross country skiing. I was super short. I didn't hit puberty till I was pretty late, so I was like 5'1" when I was 16, trying to play hockey with like grown men. So I would just get laid out every game, and it started to not become fun once we could hit. But anyways, I started cross country skiing in the winters to stay in shape for motocross, actually. That was the main reason I started. And then slowly that just became my passion and something I really enjoyed. And I skied in college and really dove in. I went over to Europe. And the Euros really understand endurance training and it's more of a lifestyle over there, how they train, how they eat, how they sleep, kind of the whole nine. And it still is that way. The US is definitely getting better. I'd say in the last like 15 years, the US is getting much better. You can see it in mountain bike results and cross country skiing. It's very obvious in cross country skiing how much better we're getting at endurance sports, even marathon running. But anyways, so I learned a lot going to Europe. I trained with some Germans, some Russians, some Swedes, some Norwegians, just a lot of guys and girls that are just insane athletes. Now looking at it, some of them are like some of the best cross-country skiers in the world. So it's pretty cool that I got to train with them when I did and really learn from the best. And then once I graduated college, I got super lucky, started working with Christian Craig and Chase Sexton.
Oh, yeah.
This is in 2014, 2015. Mm-hmm. And this is before Chase really had done it before that. So he was actually at Star when I was training him.
Oh, okay.
He was 14 or 15, and Christian was trying to make his comeback. He was living in Minneapolis. Chase was living in Illinois, and I just happened to be living in Minneapolis as well, graduated college. And it just worked out perfectly. Started working with Christian. You know, he made his comeback. Geico hired me pretty much right when they hired both of them, and we all moved out to California at the same time. And the rest is kind of history as far as that stuff goes.
Oh, that's pretty sweet. Yeah, it's kind of weird how sometimes things just kind of fall into place perfectly where you want it to.
Yeah, and it's a lot of luck, you know. Like I don't think I could redo that whole scenario, you know, no matter how hard I work again. But it does help, like being at that time. So I was working with local pros: Jake Loberg, Clay Chapesky, Christian Craig, Chase Sexton, and then Jerry Robin. Jerry Robin lived the high school over from me growing up, and I don't know, he was probably 10-minute drive from my place. And so, you know, growing up watching Jerry race, and just having just enough in the moto world, like a little bit of credibility in that sense, helped a lot to, you know, slowly be able to train Christian and Chase and, you know, some of the guys that are top dogs now.
A side note, I heard Jeremy Martin is quite a mountain biker. How far can he keep up with you?
He's gnarly. Yeah, if he goes full bore, like just cycling training, he will be way better than I ever was.
Really?
Like off the little bit of cycling he does now, he's already a freak. I mean, he can probably do 5.5 to 6 watts per kilo for 20 minutes, I would say. Once he starts, I mean, he's never given himself the opportunity to do like 12 months of just cycling, obviously, with his job. So I think once he's done racing, and if he wants to dive into cycling, he could be a pretty big threat in some of these big races.
That'd be cool. I would like to see like people who like to transition over to that. I don't know if you know this, even though he's downhill mountain biker, Dakota Norton, he's also trying to qualify for a outdoor race to do a dual. Like he wants to do both of that one time in a year.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, there's not, to be honest, like most moto guys are good road cyclists and good mountain bikers. Like they're not bad by any means, but man, dude, Jeremy is like a whole nother level. And there's some gnarly dudes. Like Sexton's really gnarly too. He's got a little bit too much mass to like really be like an XC guy, but like on a flat road, I would have a hard time thinking many people could keep up with Chase too. But yeah, some of these guys, dude, it's for how little they train on a bicycle, it's pretty impressive.
Speaking of like Chase and his mass, a lot of people, you know, I'd say back in the day, they would say this guy's way too big for motocross, but he does it well. He carries himself well. He doesn't seem like it bothers him. Versus, we'll just use Christian Craig again, who's in a sense a real thin guy. Is there one better than the other, or is just how these people, how they kind of just carry themselves?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, everybody's different. Just your build is so different. Like you can't really compare like a Chase build to, you know, like a Marvin Muskin type build. Like it's very, very different just from genetics. But I do think the way the sport's going and the way everybody's riding the motorcycle now, I think, I mean, you can just see it. It's Jet, Chase, even Christian, like he's thinner, but he's probably weighs about the same as Chase. I bet you he's within 10 pounds. Eli, Jason, all these guys are 170 plus pounds now, where before it was like 140, 150. I mean, that's an exaggeration, but I feel like, I don't know, RV was probably no more than 160, I would say, when he was racing.
James was like 150.
Yeah, and I would say outside of Cooper Webb, I don't think many guys are that small anymore that are up there. Especially Jet and Chase, Eli. Like Jason in the offseason, Jason came in pretty heavy, and I don't know if he was super concerned about it, but I wasn't really. But I was like, man, like how much mass do you really need? And then he started riding Supercross, and he was riding it so well. I'm like, dude, why would I ever touch it? You know, like I feel like there's a certain weight in just the inertia of the 14 motor you have to have weight to throw it around, and it's not a power to weight sport like uphill running or cycling or anything like that. It's a power sport. It's like a track cyclist. So I don't really think the weight is relevant. It's more, if you're strong enough and you have the mass to move the bike around. I think outdoors is a little different just because you don't want to be, too big. But overall, I don't know. I feel like the bigger the better in the 450 class. Like I don't see any disadvantage to, even if it's a little bit of fat, I don't see any disadvantage to carrying more weight just because the season's so long. It'll help you stay healthier. You'll probably be able to take a slam better. Overall, the sport, the way it's going, I think guys are just going to keep getting bigger and bigger because the bikes, they're detuning. Most guys are detuning the 450s. So it's not a power issue. The 7 pounds for 1 horsepower, whatever that ratio is. I don't know if that's a myth, but I don't think guys are even, thinking about that anymore. I think they're more concerned about being strong enough and, just gnarly enough to do whatever they want on the bike.
Yeah, I think it's kind of, I like it because it kind of, and talking to my buddies, they're kind of like, even though they're not pros, they're kind of like, well, I don't have to shed 40 pounds anymore. I just got to kind of, build a little muscle. Or I think in the sense, people out here, they feel a little bit better. Like, oh, this guy's kind of on my size a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Well, in the RC days, in the James day, I mean, both of those guys are, very short statured. So it's not, maybe it's just the genetic lottery now to be good at Supercross. You have to be tall. Like it could be, like the Stasic generation coming up. There's enough kids getting weeded out. And there always has been, but I think especially now with the speeds and how close everybody is, maybe the genetic lottery is you have to be, 5'10" or taller. And, there's only, if you just go down the start list of the 450 guys, there's not many guys under like 5'9" anymore.
Yeah, I'd say Justin Cooper's pie might be one of the smallest.
Yeah. He seems to handle the 450 fine too. So it's, I know he's strong on Swanee's program. So I'm sure, those guys are built up as well.
So when someone comes into troll training, they're we'll say your average person, whatever, want to use troll training. Do you start with diet, or do you say, hey, don't cut any corners? Tell me what you got going on, and we'll start there.
Yeah, I usually started off with training. Diet's kind of it's a really tough. I mean, honestly, most people, when you talk diet, most people are thinking like keto or some like actual diet. When I think diet, I think of like, how are you fueling your workouts? So I talk carbohydrates to a lot of the athletes. Like, how many carbohydrates are you having during the workout, before the workout, after the workout? Obviously, you need protein and everything else. But what happens a lot of times, especially right now, I feel like there's so many diet fads that, you have guys that are, they're trying to fast till 1 p.m. and still like put in a hard workout. And it's like, it just, you can't drive anywhere without gas in your car. So it's just, I would say, and this is it's nobody's fault, but I would say 50% of Alex and my job is to tell people that they need to eat. And it's like, eat anything, like obviously you need to eat well and you want to have the right foods, but man, sometimes it's like, just eat anything because it's going to be better than nothing before a hard workout. And that's kind of, we start with the training and we'll work in diet stuff, but yeah, to be honest, diet's really tough right now for pro athletes or somebody trying to become pro. Because dude, the marketing has just ruined everybody. Cause it's just even I get sucked into it sometimes. It's just like you read something and it could be completely wrong, completely false. And, but it's on the package. So you believe it. And then, it's a downward spiral of like where your head's at. Like, man, maybe I should eat less or, and what we find with a lot of our athletes is their food timing is horrendous. So like I said, they might fast all morning, eat a really small breakfast, not have much for lunch. And dude, they come home from work and they eat the kitchen and they don't know why. They're like, oh, I don't have any willpower. And it's like, no, it's not that. It's just your body needs food at some point. and you've starved all day, and now, you're paying for it. So it's trying to reverse that, have more food in the morning for lunch. And then if you're going to go light at dinner.
I know the carnivore diet's all a big rage right now. Could a pro do that?
No,
No carbs?
no. I mean, you could do anything, it's just, you're never going to be at your best. I mean, you can be on, Amart has been on keto riding Supercross 2016 or 2017 he was, and he did it, but he was nowhere near his best. And like Alex and I have tried almost every diet, and I can promise you, like, just a well-rounded carbohydrates, fat, protein, a good diet with vegetables and fruit and processed foods too. Like, as an athlete, you need processed foods to get enough carbohydrates. So it's just like kind of debunking all the myths and, going with, what you really need to perform. And I always tell people I'm a performance coach, not a health coach. So all I care about is performance. Health obviously is important, but sometimes to perform well, you can't eat healthy.
Yeah. What's like some riders? What do you have them all on the same? Like, hey, this is what we like to eat, and then they kind of go for it. You just, even though you said just eat everything, what's some good recommendations?
Ooh, that's loaded. Every guy is different. Like, every guy's different how serious they want to take their diet. And I think there's a fine line of, like, you need to be serious about your diet, but also most of these guys are on the road 30 weekends a year. So, like, you're never going to eat perfect. It's just the reality. Like, what's the best meal you're going to get in an airport, 60 times in a year? So it's tough. So yeah, you just have to, like, my best suggestion is always eating the best you can in the situation you're in. So if you stop at a gas station and all they have is a, shitty ham sandwich, it looks like that's what you're having for dinner. But if you're at home and you can eat like a king, of course, have steak and a salad and asparagus and, really go out. But yeah, it's tough. It's diets. I have a really hard time talking diet, even just because, it's there's so many layers to it. It's like, where are you trying to make gains, or like, where are you at with your training, with your weight? Like, there's so many factors to what somebody's diet can entail. But I'm not like a full-blown dietitian either. So it's just more or less like a performance thing for me. Like, I'm looking at, especially for, like, in cycling, for instance, the goal for me, being a bigger guy, I was always trying to get 120 grams an hour down when I was racing. And then the day before, I was trying to get, 9 grams per kilogram you weigh, which for me was like 650 grams of carbohydrates in a day before a race. And, I was always trying to hit those markers. And usually if I hit those markers, I would get enough protein. I would get enough, of everything I needed on top of that. So it was always easy if I just simplified it into one, all right, make sure you get enough carbs today. Obviously I need to have, everything else as well.
If someone came to troll training, mountain biker came to you guys, and he's like, hey, I want to be a better enduro rider, whatever. Yeah, whatever. And then you have moto guys. Are you training them? They got the same kind of program, not diet, obviously training program, or do you switch it up for mountain bikers versus moto guys?
Yeah, it's quite a bit different. I mean, I would say most, like, just how specific you need to be for each sport. It's quite a bit different. Like, even enduro nowadays, man, dude, those top guys are pretty fit. So, if you're not putting in some serious hours on a bike, it's going to be pretty hard to compete in those races. As it's, some of them are 6-7 hours long. So, yeah, it's a much different, like, for reference, most moto guys that I work with, they won't bike more than, like, in the off season, probably 7 or 8 hours of cycling a week. In the season, like 4 to 6.
Wow.
is just because there's only so many days and so many hours in a day to really train. So it's not like they're throwing down 5-hour rides on Wednesdays before Nashville Supercross this weekend. It's usually more for recovery and to kind of get ready for the next day.
So I know a lot of moto guys do road cycling versus mountain biking. Is that more so they don't, like, get injury, or why more road cycling versus mountain biking? Is that a heart rate thing or a good base, or why do you guys choose that?
Um, so I don't have a problem with either. Like I don't. There's really, as long as you're, training at the right intensity, it doesn't really matter. I don't. It's a good question though. I think most moto guys like road. I mean, most of them live in Florida now, so road biking just makes more sense. But out in California or out west anywhere, I would argue the mountain biking's better because you can just ride fire roads, and it's pretty easy to stay, at the right intensity. But yeah, it's kind of just the culture, I'd say, of moto. Like people just like to road bike. I don't really have any issue. Like most of the top guys I work with, whether it's running, biking, rowing, like whatever they enjoy the most, that's what I like to hammer on. I don't really have like a super strict, like if you hate road cycling, I won't make you road bike. There's a million other ways to get fit outside of road cycling. So it's more or less, I think the culture, and honestly, a lot of the guys, their bikes are super badass. So
Yeah.
they're riding around, like $12,000 road bikes. And I think it's just a good hobby for them.
Yeah, I saw where Alex just posted something. He like ran a marathon or something. Um, I hate running. Absolutely. I mean, I'm kind of getting back into it. Sometimes if it rains and the trails are done, but man, I'm choosing biking all day long.
Yeah, yeah. I think as you get older, like biking is just so much easier on your body. It's hard to argue. But man, once you get in running shape, like for me right now,
Yeah.
traveling to all the races and stuff, just being able to travel with a pair of running shoes and shorts,
Mhm.
versus like traveling with a bike,
Yeah.
it's really nice.
Yeah. I traveled this past year with work, and like treadmill sometimes would just burn me out. So it would be freezing out. I was up upper Michigan, and I was like, I got to run. But we also did we had to get 75 plus miles. I think we set for the month of February, just me and a couple buddies. And wherever you are, you got to get your miles in. And I mean, I slacked. I was like, I gotta catch up here. I mean, but it's a good motivator because you have a whole month and you think, oh, if I just do 2 3 a day, I'll be done. But then you got some of those days start slipping away. Next thing you know, you're like, all right, I gotta pick up the pace here. But
Yeah,
I think
especially
goals
in the
important.
winter.
Do what?
Yeah, yeah, especially in the winter.
It was
It's
brutal.
tough to get outside. Yeah, were you in like the UP?
No, I was an hour north of Detroit in Port Huron.
Okay. Yeah, I mean it still gets cold there, but
Yeah,
I thought you were thinking the UP. I'm like, dude, you can't even run there because there's so much snow.
I've never been to the UP. I've heard good things though.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. But yeah, for sure. No, having a goal and like something like that is really good, and just something to keep you in check. Even myself, like I have to have something I'm shooting for, or else you just wake up kind of without a purpose of what you're doing for training, and you go out and you usually slack a little.
Yeah. So I know kind of a little bit back to the food or the diet. I try to. I know you kind of not a huge fan, but so I'm like a big egg guy in the morning. Are you big eggs and then fruit and then like avocado, like kind of just being redundant, doing the same thing over and over? Don't kind of change it up.
Yeah, that sounds great. Like eggs, fruit, avocado. Yeah, your body loves that. Yeah, I'm pretty like obviously they always everybody always says you want the full spectrum of color on your plate, and you want to mix it up. Like I definitely mix up like meats I have, so chicken, steak, fish. I try to mix that up quite a bit, but I'm pretty plain Jane. So
Mhm.
I'll kind of like have the same thing for breakfast until I am burnt on it, and then I'll switch it up. I think I did oatmeal when I was a ski racer. I think I did oatmeal for like 6 or 7 years, almost every morning, and I couldn't have oatmeal again for a couple of years.
Yeah.
So I usually like to just go till I hate it type thing. But it depends too on the workout. Like I definitely for super hard gnarly days, I like to do pancakes. It's kind of like the gift of being able to eat a pancake without guilt. I like to do that, and then I'll have a lot of like yogurt, granola, eggs, avocado. I'll kind of try everything now, but when
Mhm.
I'm competing or really training for something, I'm pretty boring.
So not a healthy food, but me and my buddy did a. This is something I can't eat anymore. We did a Reese cup challenge. Who could eat the most Reese cups? And so we went to the dollar store. This is '08, and we actually tied. We both ate 43 Reese cups. It ended up tasting like sandpaper, the peanut butter inside. I haven't had a Reese cup since.
Oh, that's unfortunate. That's probably my favorite candy.
Wow, wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll take that back. I had one because it was frozen or like, rinse real hard, but I was like, man, I just can't get back to it.
No, I couldn't either. That sounds a bit much, but that's a lot. Yeah, I feel like, so how many, yeah, that's probably enough calories too, where you felt like crap afterwards.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You're feeling like garbage
Yeah,
for
that's funny.
um
That's funny.
when you guys do or training, do you feel your program is more upper body, more legs? I know you got moto and mountain bike guys or whatever, but or you even have like media guys like Darkside even doing your program. Are you guys looking for upper body, legs, or I guess you ask them what are they focusing on? What do they want to get to, right?
Yeah, I think like cardio wise, it's more legs. It's always more legs. I would love to have guys do 2 hour ski ergs and rows, but the reality is like you can't. I think emotionally and mentally you can't manage that. Kind of no matter who you are, no matter how motivated you are. I think in the gym, our program's really well rounded. We don't really focus, like when you go into the gym with our program, it's not like chest day or leg day or anything.
Mhm.
It's everything.
Mhm.
And that's mostly because I feel like there's only, especially if you're racing at a high level, like say you're pro and you're going to the race every weekend and whatnot, you only have so many hours in a day to train, and you only have so many days you can actually train. So I always kind of fight this in my own head, is like, what is the best bang for your buck for, a pro guy who's really looking to get better and perform at a high level and everything. And it always comes down to just doing full body in the gym every time you're in there, because if Tuesday you focus on chest, Thursday you focus on legs, and then you go race Saturday and you can't, stand up because your legs are sore or whatever the
Yeah.
case is. I would just rather get everything out of the way on like a Tuesday and then have enough, time to recover. So I think our gym programs full body would be really, I think that would be the right way to word it. But as far as cardio goes, and especially your legs can just carry more oxygen to your muscles in general. So cardio wise, it's, if you think about it like how can you burn the least amount of matches? It's like say you're doing a recovery spin or a recovery run or whatever you're doing. If you want to still work out, but you don't want to burn excessive matches because say you have to ride the next day or race the next day or whatever, your legs are always the best option because you've been walking on them your whole life. So they can just carry more oxygen to your muscles versus your arms.
Mhm.
Like if you go do a 30-minute row and you never row the day before you have to ride or a big race or something, like it's just a bad idea. So I always try to keep everything really consistent on, if they like to run, then I make sure they run once a week or so, just so they always have that, in their pocket and they can go do it and not be super sore or fatigued. And then same with cycling. Like that's why I really love cycling, because the posture and everything of cycling isn't that good. Because they're always like, hunched over. It's really not it's an ugly sport as far as like having good posture but the thing I like about it is it's very low impact and your legs are so efficient, especially over time as you bike more, that you're really not burning that many matches for the cardio output you're putting on your heart, and it's not weight bearing either. So like running is weight bearing, so it's just way more abusive and taxing on your body than cycling. And so cycling kind of gets a bad rap in the sport from people that aren't in it or aren't like aware of the reason why cycling is so beneficial. But really there's basically no pressure on joints or tendons or anything that doesn't need to be. And as you know, most of these guys are just, injury ridden, whether it's ACLs or tib fibs or femurs or whatever. So just making their life a little bit easier is a good thing for sure for training.
Yeah, it's like it makes me think of like Laird Hamilton does underwater workouts because there's like the resistance or like the it's not hard on your body. Um,
Yeah.
you guys ever thought
Yeah, he
about
does
something
it with
like
those like water weights, huh?
I know he's taking even kettlebells or real weights to the bottom of his pool, and then you got to like bring him up. Or I don't even know. I never really like dove into the whole thing, but yeah, he says it's like easier on your joints, and that's why they do it.
Yeah, I know he works with a bunch of NBA players. And those guys, being 6'5" to 7'5", your tendons and anything that's attaching anything at that size in your body, whether it's a muscle or a bone or whatever, man, there's probably not much wiggle room. So I'm sure the pool is the best option.
Yeah. So one thing me and my buddy, when we get at least once a week, we try to do. He's got like a little 2-man sauna, and then so we'll do like we just did it last night. We'll go sauna 20, ice bath 2 to 4 minutes, back to sauna, back to ice bath, sauna, and then finish on ice bath. So it's like about an hour, and I sleep great, and I almost feel like the next day like I did a full workout, and I feel like I did nothing.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm a huge fan of saunas. Saunas are kind of like it's a what is the saying? It's a poor man's altitude tent or something like that. But
Oh, I've never heard that.
it has huge benefits for like it boosts your hemoglobin.
Mhm.
Like the whole reason you wear compression socks or compression pants or anything is to get more blood flow to your heart. So by sauning, you get no wear and tear on your muscles. But it's actually, I think, a 20-minute sauna. The study is like a 20-minute sauna is the
Yeah.
equivalent of a 20-minute jog on your heart. So you're getting tons of benefit. It's basically like an active recovery workout without having to do anything. Plus, you're getting the heat benefits. And so, yeah, I'm a huge fan of the sauna. I sauna a ton. I do a lot of hot yoga too.
Yeah.
Same kind of deal. Not quite as hot, but it's the same concept. And yeah, I'm a big fan of heat. I mean, heat's kind of the new, like in high level sports, it's the new like drug. Like
Yeah.
it's very beneficial kind of no matter what sport you're in, and especially with inflammation. If you're, like especially if you get, you have a bad crash or whatever the case is, you kind of want to get in the heat as fast as you can, and yeah, just let the heat do whatever it does to your body.
Oh yeah, I did my first hot yoga class I did one time. I was like dating this girl, and we step in there. I've already done the sauna. I was like, this isn't even hot. She's like, oh, you'll see. I was like, whatever. Next thing you know, man, halfway through, it's like a rainforest on me, man. I'm just like,
Yeah,
whatever. I'm just
yeah.
like, man, this is no joke.
Yeah, yeah. I know. I feel like the weirdo in all the classes because I'm just dripping
Yeah,
sweat. Like it's unbelievable sometimes. And a lot of people in there just aren't sweating at all. I'm just like,
I know.
damn, dude, it's gnarly. But so something that'll make you feel better. Sweating more is actually you're fitter. It's better to sweat more because your body's more efficient at cooling itself. So sweating it's like a lot of people think of like, oh, you're not fit if you're sweating a lot, but it's actually the opposite. So just a little tidbit.
I'll have to remember that one. I will
Yeah,
also say with hot yoga, my uh, balance on a mountain bike is like way better. Like it just my
yeah.
center
Mhm.
of gravity feels like if there's anything off camber or whatever, I just feel way better after like just keep doing yoga and stretching. I guess it just helps you out all in all that position.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and the longer your muscles are, the stronger they are. Short muscles are weaker. So even if you're not doing any strength training, like doing something like yoga or stretching in a good way, it does help everything. And yoga, especially with some of the poses you go in, your balance definitely gets better. I mean, it's kind of crazy like that. I feel like it's a cheat code almost doing hot yoga. If you do it regularly, it's kind of like a cheat code to everything. Like you just feel I sleep better because my back doesn't hurt.
Yeah,
Like I wake up and my body feels kind of new compared to if I don't do it. The problem is I can't sustain doing it every night or else I'm cooked. But if I could right now, I probably would do it, every other day. Because it does. I just feel better. Even this week, I've already done it twice, and it's Thursday, and like if it's up to me, man, I'm doing that every week forever, just because I'm always feeling better.
Yeah, I probably need to go more back to it. I got two buddies that ride, and they're 3 times a week, and they say it's game changer.
Yeah, well, especially for riding, because you can, at least mentally, you can manage the heat so much better. You know, you kind of know how to breathe through it, where if you're not used to the heat or moving in the heat, it is pretty tough.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on like uh Eli kind of works out at altitude, or some West Coast guys? You think that makes a difference? I guess I would say the blood cells and stuff like that versus the Florida guys. You think there's a big difference there?
Man, it's so hard. I've had somebody ask me this recently too. I like this because there's no right or wrong answer. Nobody knows. But my take on it is, so Florida, due to the heat, it actually raises your hemoglobin levels as well. Not as much as altitude. I think Eli sleeps at like 7,500 feet, and then he rides at like 4,000 feet, I want to say, which is best case scenario. But obviously, like from a science perspective, yeah, he has an advantage. There's no doubt about it physically. My personal take on it is I think Eli would be Eli no matter where he lived. I don't think the altitude is the reason he's gnarly.
Right,
It's
right.
just and he's lived in California so many months of his career that like you could definitely argue that he also won a lot at sea level. So I don't know the answer. It's hard in moto because it sounds like it would really help, but I'm always curious, just the power difference, if it messes guys up when they go to race day, if they're used to riding a slower bike, or because the slower the bike is, the less it's going to wear you out.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm always curious if you go to race day and you feel like it wears you out a little more. I know J-Mart, I've talked to Jeremy a lot about this, and he said he felt like a freak when he lived at altitude, when he'd go to the race.
Yeah.
But he did say his timing was always a little off in Supercross because of it. Like it would take him one practice to kind of like remember sea level riding again, which isn't a huge deal, but I don't know. My take on it is like maybe it has an advantage, but also I think there's disadvantages. But I think Eli could walk around a tree for his training for like an hour, just do circles and still win. So I don't know. He's so gnarly. I don't know if it matters.
I don't think Supercross, it might not as matter, but I think outdoor season, when you're in a 30-minute moto and he's still hunting you down, if he's not already in first or pulling away, I think that might be a little bit more of a advantage. But yeah, Supercross, I don't know, not as much. Maybe that's just me though.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And also too, like the other part of it too is generally at high altitude, it's not as hot. So then you're not getting the heat side of it. So it's kind of like, I don't know if it's like as big as an advantage as we make it out to be in the sport. But I mean, he's the only one doing it, and he's won so much that you can't really argue it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, we're all kind of looking like, is this why he won so much? But in reality, he's just a beast all around.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I've watched him in California do, the gnarliest stuff living here full time. So it's kind of, it's probably a piece of it. I would definitely put it as a piece of it, but it's not the whole pie. That's for sure.
What do you think, in your opinion, is worse for someone training, eating like, this is totally like just whatever, like a sleeve of Oreos, or drinking 3 or 4 beers after working out all day?
Oh man, people aren't going to like me for this. They did do, so I have read a study where 1 beer after training is actually not horrible because it has a little bit of carbohydrates, and your body can metabolize alcohol really well when you're, kind of just getting done with a workout. But alcohol in general is, dude, there is nothing worse than killing any sort of gains in the gym, cardio. There's nothing worse than alcohol. I mean, it is like, now with all the Whoop bands and all the sleep data we have, like it's very obvious how bad it is. I think before that we were all kind of guessing how bad it was, like, oh yeah, it's pretty bad. And then once you get the sleep data stuff going, you're just like, holy shit, man. Yeah. I mean, it's like there's nothing. I mean, seriously, as an athlete, there is nothing worse than obviously excessive alcohol. Like a couple glasses of wine isn't going to kill you every once in a while, but yeah, if you're going on a bender and trying to do a hard workout the next day, it's pretty brutal on your body.
Well, good to know. Um, yeah, I stopped. I don't like drink heavy now or anything, but I just went off drinking for about to say a month and a half. Best sleep I ever had. Best sleep.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't mean to be like, a buzzkill about it, but it's just the truth, dude. Like it is
Yeah.
so hard on your body. And like, if you are ever curious, if anybody's ever curious, I always like get some sort of sleep data, like a Whoop band, or, I mean, most watches even do it now,
Mhm.
but, anything, and, do nights without alcohol, do nights with alcohol. And it is super, super obvious. Like your breathing, your respiratory rate's higher, your HRV's down, your resting heart rate's up. You never get as much deep sleep or REM sleep. It's kind of just like the killer. And that's the one time, like if there's any gain talk of training, it's sleeping. So it's the one time you have to get free HGH without doping. And you basically just kill it with alcohol. And even one night, it's not the end of the world, obviously,
Mhm.
but even one night at a crucial time of the year, or, a crucial time of the week or whatever, depending on what you're training for, can be enough to kind of just like throw you out of sorts for a couple days.
So you're saying beer is a killer over if I eat like a bowl of Fruit Loops.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Fruit Loops all day. Yeah. Plus they taste good.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I don't, it's tough. Dude, even for me, I'm such a performance guru and like kind of a nut about everything training related. Once I started wearing sleep tracker stuff and I saw the effects of alcohol, like I said, I knew it probably wasn't great for me. I don't really like, unless I'm going out to have a good time, I don't really even have like a beer or two ever, because it's just like I'd rather just have 8 beers
Yeah.
and have a good time, because like 1 or 2 beers, I'm not going to have a good time,
Mhm.
and I'm going to get all the negative effects.
Yeah.
So a lot of times I'll drink like Athletic Brewing NA beer.
Oh, that's good stuff.
If I do like that a lot, and I'll have something like that instead. But yeah, man, even for me, like, God, it's tough to even wrap my head around like 2 beers, 3 beers, whatever.
Mm-hmm. What's your you mentioned Whoop, and now there's a lot of the ring stuff. People wear the ring. Do you prefer one or the other, or are they kind of totally different things?
They're all kind of the same algorithm, so I don't think it really matters. Some of them offer like better insights on certain things, but I think all of them are really close.
Okay. What do you guys use? You guys use Polar, or what's your all's data you guys like to use?
So I use, for sleep data, I use the Aura Ring.
Mm-hmm.
For watch, I'm a Garmin guy. We were Polar. We worked with Wayne. He's kind of like a legendary Polar employee, and then he quit, or him and Polar aren't together. I don't know the whole story, but he's not with Polar anymore, and so I think the whole moto community is no longer with Polar because of him. Wayne was just kind of like, the hookup with everything. So, and Polar, honestly, a lot of their products are pretty outdated at this point. If you compare them to Garmin and a couple other ones, they still work fine. Like, especially for moto guys, like Polar's great. There's nothing wrong with it. But if you're going into like deep data of like, power or running or, triathlon type stuff, like Garmin's definitely a bit ahead of Polar in that case. But dude, most things, if it has time, GPS, heart rate, like you don't really need much else. So Polar works fine.
I had a question regarding that. Dang, I can't remember what it was now. Maybe it'll come back to me. Yeah, Polar. It seemed like it was so dominant forever with the heart rate monitor, but then, yeah, it's like they never like adjusted or anything. They just kind of fizzled out.
Yeah, I do like their strap though. Their chest strap, I feel like, is the most comfortable of all of them, and I think the Bluetooth connection's better than most other watches. But yeah, it's weird, dude. It just kind of fizzled out because they owned Moto for, I don't know, 20 years, 15 years. Like I even remember in 2007, 2008, there was like the silver RS 800. I don't know what the price was, but it was kind of like this famous, like James Stewart would wear it, and a lot of the top guys. And I remember at the time it was expensive. I don't know what expensive was back then, but that's what I ski raced with.
Yeah.
So I was always like stoked I had the same watch as Stu.
Not to unless you want to mention a brand. What's your thoughts on like certain supplement brands and like supplement like protein powders? Are some of them are um like just all facade, or is there some good stuff out there? I know you're a big feed website person, right?
Yeah, I don't really. I have some affiliation with some companies, but I don't. You know, I don't get paid enough to lie. So I my favorite products, hands down, are Scratch,
Yeah.
Martin, Never Second. Those are my three favorite, I would say. Um, I'm really good friends with a sports nutritionist who he makes all the powders for Herbalife and the Herbalife Sport. And so he's kind of helped me like weed through a lot of the BS with some of the products. Like I would say most of the products are pretty similar across the board. Like I don't know how to like the least quality products are very similar across the board. And if you can get away from those, you're in a lot better place because it is like what you're really looking for is something that won't disrupt your gut. You know, you can get good carbohydrates, good electrolytes, good sugar in your system. And most products, if you do too much, your stomach is screwed. So
Yeah.
it's just, you know, a high quality product. But I'm not really biased towards like, you know, if you use, you know, one over the other, it's not the end of the world. But there's definitely better products than what the moto industry is pushing is kind of crazy actually, because I have friends that are professional, you know, endurance athletes in other sports, Olympians, everything, and they've never even heard of the moto products. You know, that's how small and niche that market is. So yeah, if you can get out of the moto world just a little bit, there's some really good stuff.
You ever do like Infinite? You ever try?
Infinite's good too. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, Infinite's good. Or like Tailwind. I used to use Tailwind as well. That's a good one. But yeah, there's tons of good products. It's not that yeah, anything's but I don't know. I feel like Scratch is just kind of on a pedestal with me and Martin's like right there with them and same with Never Second. I feel like those three are just kind of just better. Like they taste better, they work better, kind of the whole thing.
Oh yeah, Infinite's local to my area. I've used it a little bit. I swear they're Infinite. I think it's the Loop or Infinite something. Yeah, but my focus when I'm riding is like insane sometimes. I don't know what's in it, but I'm like, man, do they put like Adderall in this stuff? Because then my focus is like, I'm just like right in the zone, and I don't even know what else is going around me.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's good. No, I know that stuff's good. Yeah, there's tons of like smaller. I think it's so saturated right now. The nutrition sport nutrition market. It's hard. Like Infinite's probably really good, but they don't have the reach Scratch has. Or like Martin. I don't even want to know what Martin's marketing budget is. It's got to be out of control because you know you see it everywhere with the best athletes. We're like Never Second. I think Never Second's probably might even be better than some of those, but they don't have the marketing, you know, Morton does. So it's like you're kind of just splitting hairs as far as what's good. But I know a lot of the local stuff, like even Honey Stinger out of Colorado. You know, there's tons of local companies that are high quality.
I know you got to go here pretty soon, but what what's your? I know a lot of riders say they're drinking energy drinks when they're on the podium or whatnot, and we all kind of the people who really know it's water. But how truly bad is that stuff?
Um, it's hard. It's not good for you. There's no
Right.
doubt it's not good for you. No question. Um, like going back to my comment on a performance, not a health coach. So there's a time and a place for it. And this is the truth is like in the Tour de France, a lot of the guys that win the tour, they might have up to like 6 Cokes in a race.
But they
Now
flatten
you
them.
would, yeah, they do flatten them. You would
Yeah.
never, ever go tell somebody to go have 6 Cokes a day.
Right.
Right. So that's where the performance side comes in. There's a reason you have the super shitty sugars that can get in your system right away. Now, I don't know Monster as much, but Red Bull I've dabbled with enough, and I know a lot of athletes that have. I think with the caffeine, like especially in a super, super long endurance race, I think the caffeine, like say you're doing an 8-hour event, at the 7-hour mark to have like half a Red Bull, flat Red Bull, with the caffeine and the sugar and everything, even just the taste, it like messes with your brain just enough where you're like, oh man, I'm gonna have so much energy now. Whether you are or not is kind of irrelevant, but if you believe it, it works. And I do think there's a time and a place for something like that, or like a 5-hour energy before a Supercross race. Hell no. That'll like you got to be able to time jumps and not be too shaky. So I don't recommend before motos doing any sort of energy drink. But like after a hard day, I do think it's fine to have like a Coke or a Sprite or something like that just to replenish glycogen. You don't need 12 of them, but I think having one tastes good, and you need to replenish your glycogen, so it's kind of a win-win.
I talked to Nico Manali, who's downhill racer. He's actually got his own bike brand now, but he said he used to do before his races, he would like chug a Red Bull 45 minutes, right at 45 minutes. But he's like, some of the times it just never hit when you wanted it to hit, and then it was never really worked out to where you wanted it to work out.
Yeah. No, it's all timing too, and like what's in your stomach, because you can slow or hurry the process up of caffeine getting in your system depending on what you've ate. So I could see it, but dude, I don't know, man. Some of these like timing sports, like downhill, that's a lot of sugar and caffeine right before it's such a short event. You have to be so focused, man. I can't imagine. I'd feel like I'd want to jump out of my skin.
Do you see like marijuana or like any kind of like edibles coming into where they're allowed to use it and legally, I guess you should say, into the sport? Not so much smoking, but as a recovery.
Yeah, I'm not sure like the legality of all of that. I know right now in the NBA, the NFL, they don't test for THC anymore. So I know that they're kind of putting that to the side as far as testing. But in moto right now, they test for it, and I don't know if it really matters if somebody wants to use or not. I don't think it's definitely not any more detrimental than alcohol. I think I think the reason you want to keep it out of sport is so you don't have people showing up to the line that can't function. And I think that's the real reason it was put on the ban list. But I think now we've all kind of grown to see that it does have benefits outside of just having like a good time with your buddies. It's really is, especially for concussions. I always am worried about guys with concussions and how little they do for it. And I know there's quite a bit of research with THC and concussion. So I think there's a place for it. I don't know like where it fits, but I think there's a place for it. And I'm sure with time, I think most sports it'll be legal.
Yeah, I never knew that about concussions. That's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm not like a doctor on it, but I've read some stuff. I listened to that. Davey Millsaps did a really good podcast and talked about it a little bit too, and how it helped him. But yeah, there's tons of like psychedelic, microdosing mushrooms, stuff like that really helps with concussions and healing your brain. So I think as people loosen up to it, I think it'll become more legal. I just think most people just aren't there yet. It's going to take like, I don't know. It's probably going to take like millennials once they're grandparents for it to loosen up enough. But I think right now it's pretty much like stamped as a bad thing.
Yeah, I basically live in the Bible Belt. These people they're not changing anytime soon.
Yeah. And it's just like in the way it is with every state is different, and kind of no matter what it is, that doesn't help either, because then whoever's testing, they can't do much if you're testing in California versus like Oklahoma or something.
All right. Well, John, I know you got to go. I appreciate the time, man. I learned a lot. And are you heading to Nashville?
Yeah, flying out tomorrow.
All right. That's a good town.
Yeah. It's the best to have a Supercross. I wish the finale was either Nashville or back in Vegas or something cool, because
Yeah.
like the last 3 rounds aren't exactly like crazy places to have the last few rounds, but it'll be fun.
Yeah, I mean the playoffs. You're back in Vegas. We're back in Vegas.
Yeah, that'll be good. I think the sport needs it for sure. I think everybody really enjoyed it, and especially
Yeah,
that time of the year. People from the Midwest and out east, when it starts getting cold, they have no problem flying to Vegas.
yeah. Well, once again, thanks for the time, man. Yeah. So enjoy your dinner, and yeah, I'll talk to you sometime soon. I'm sure.
Yeah, sounds good, Justin. We'll chat soon.